Captain Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. The space around his ship looked empty and dark, but his sensors told a different story. Something big was out there, floating in the black between the stars. "Lisa, what do you make of this?" he asked his science officer. Lisa Grant looked up from her computer. Her face was pale with excitement. "Captain, I've never seen anything like it. The readings show metal, but not any metal we know. And the size ... it's huge." Jake walked over to her station. The numbers on her screen made him whistle softly. Whatever was out there was at least 10 times bigger than his ship, the Endeavor. And his ship was already one of the largest vessels in the human fleet. Could it be a space station? Asked Pete Williams, his first officer. "No," Lisa shook her head. "The shape is wrong for a station. And look at these energy readings. Something is still working inside, but just barely." Jake made his decision quickly. "All right, people. We're going to take a look. Pete, set us on a course to intercept. But keep our weapons ready, just in case." As they got closer, the object became visible on their main screen. It wasn't just one ship. It was a whole fleet of them, all tied together with cables and metal bridges. The ships were dark and silent, but they were beautiful in a strange way. Their hulls were smooth and curved, like they had been grown instead of built. "My God," whispered Amy Carter, the ship's doctor. "Who built these?" "Not humans," Lisa said. "The design is completely different from anything we've ever made. This is alien technology." Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all his years of space travel, he had never seen anything like this. Humans had been looking for other intelligent life for centuries, and here it was, floating right in front of them. "Are there any life signs?" he asked. Lisa worked at her computer for several minutes. "I'm getting some readings, but they're very weak. If there's anyone alive in there, they're not doing well." Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at the alien ships with wonder and fear. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. He could feel it. "We're going aboard," he said. "Lisa, Amy, you're with me. Pete, you have the ship. If anything goes wrong, get us out of here." They put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle over to the largest alien ship. Finding an airlock took some time, but Lisa's scanners finally located what looked like a door. To their surprise, it opened when they approached. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Their lights showed long hallways with walls that seemed to glow faintly. The air was thin but breathable, which was lucky for them. "The gravity is lighter than Earth normal," Amy noted as they walked deeper into the ship. They found the first alien 20 minutes later. It was tall and thin, with skin that looked like crystal. It was lying in some kind of bed, connected to machines that beeped softly. Its chest rose and fell slowly. "It's alive," Amy whispered. They found more of them as they explored. Hundreds of the crystal beings, all lying in similar beds, all barely alive. Their machines were old and breaking down. Some of the beings were already dead. "This is some kind of medical bay," Amy said. "They're all in deep sleep, but their life support systems are failing." Lisa was studying the alien technology. "Look at this. These machines have been running for a very long time. Decades, maybe centuries, but they're wearing out." Jake looked around at all the sleeping aliens. "How many are there?" "I'm reading about 3,000 life signs across all the ships," Lisa replied. "But the number keeps dropping. We've lost 5 more since we arrived." Jake felt a weight settle on his shoulders. These beings were dying, and there was nothing they could do about it. Or was there? "Can we help them?" he asked Amy. The doctor was already examining the alien machines. "Maybe. The technology is different, but the basic ideas are the same. They need power. They need clean air. They need medicine. we might be able to fix some of their systems. But Captain, Pete's voice came over their radios. We just got a message from Earth Command. They want us to return to base immediately. They say we're not authorized to make contact with aliens. Jake looked at the dying alien in front of him. Its crystal skin was starting to fade, and its breathing was getting weaker. All around them, ancient machines were failing, and 3,000 beings were slowly dying. Tell Earth Command we're conducting a rescue operation, he said. Sir, they specifically ordered us to avoid contact. Jake thought about the orders he had received before leaving Earth. They were clear. Explore. Report back. Avoid any actions that might endanger human colonies. Making contact with aliens was definitely not part of his mission. But as he looked at the dying beings around him, he realized that some things were more important than orders. Pete, call the crew together. We're going to vote on this. Vote. On what, sir? On whether we save these people or let them die. An hour later, Jake stood in front of his crew. He had told them everything they had found. The alien ships, the dying beings, the failing machines. Now he needed to know what they thought. This isn't going to be easy, he said. If we help them, we'll be disobeying direct orders. We could all face court-martial when we get back to Earth. But if we don't help them, they'll all be dead in a few weeks. Lisa spoke first. These beings have been drifting in space for centuries. They're not a threat to anyone. They're just trying to survive. And they're clearly intelligent, added Amy. Their technology is incredible. We could learn so much from them. Tony Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, nodded. I've been looking at their power systems. They're amazing. But they're old and breaking down. We could fix them, but it would take time and resources. So what do we do? Jake asked. The vote was unanimous. Every single person on the Endeavor voted to save the aliens. Jake smiled for the first time since they had found the alien ships. All right, people, we have work to do. Let's save some lives. As his crew got ready to begin the rescue operation, Jake sent a message to Earth Command. He told them what they had found and what they were going to do. He knew there would be consequences, but he didn't care. Some things were more important than following orders. Some things were worth the risk. The aliens were dying, and humanity was going to save them. That was what humans did. They helped people who needed help, even when it was dangerous, even when it was difficult. Jake looked out at the alien ships one more time. Soon, those dark halls would be filled with light and life again. Soon, these ancient travelers would have hope again. It was going to be the beginning of something amazing. The next morning, Jake Morrison woke up to the sound of alarms. He ran to the bridge of the Endeavor, still putting on his uniform. What's happening? He asked Pete Williams. Earth Command is sending a military fleet to arrest us, Pete said. They'll be here in 6 days. Jake looked at the alien ships floating outside his window. His crew had been working all night to repair their life support systems. They had already saved 50 of the crystal beings. How many more can we save before they get here? He asked. Lisa Grant looked up from her computer. At this rate, maybe 200. But Captain, there are 3,000 of them. Jake felt angry. Earth Command was going to stop them from saving innocent lives just because they were afraid of aliens. It didn't make sense. Sir, Amy Carter called from the medical bay. I think you need to see this. Jake followed her to where they had set up a temporary hospital. One of the crystal beings was awake, sitting up in bed. Its eyes were like diamonds, and they were looking right at him. It woke up an hour ago. Amy said, It can't speak our language, but it seems to understand that we're trying to help. Jake walked slowly toward the alien. It was beautiful in a strange way, with skin that looked like colored glass. When light hit it, tiny rainbows danced across its surface. The alien reached out with one thin hand. Jake took it carefully. The skin felt cool and smooth, like touching a smooth stone. "My name is Jake," he said slowly, pointing to himself. The alien tilted its head, then pointed to itself. It made a sound like wind chimes. "Zethara," it seemed to say. "Zethara," Jake repeated. The alien's diamond eyes seemed to sparkle with happiness. Over the next few hours, Zethara learned some basic human words. It was incredibly smart. More importantly, it could explain what had happened to its people. Through simple words and gestures, Zethara told them the story. The crystal beings were called the Kethfer. Their home planet had been destroyed by a star that exploded. They had managed to escape in their ships, but they had been drifting in space for 300 years, looking for a new home. Why didn't you find one? Lisa asked. Zethara showed them star charts on one of their computers. The Kethfer knew about many planets, but their ships were too old and slow to reach them. They had given up hope long ago. "We wait for death," Zethara said sadly. Jake felt his heart break. These people had been floating in the dark for 3 centuries, slowly dying, with no hope of rescue. Until now. "Not anymore," Jake said firmly. "We're going to help you." But helping the Kethfer was harder than Jake had thought. Tony Rodriguez had been studying their technology for days, and he was frustrated. "Captain, their systems are completely different from ours," Tony said. "It's like trying to fix a car with spaceship parts. Some things work, but others don't. What do you need?" Jake asked. "More people, more supplies, more time. This job is too big for one ship." Jake made a decision that would change everything. He sent a message to every human colony and trading ship in the area. He told them about the Kethfer and asked for help. "I know this sounds crazy," he said in his message, "but there are 3,000 people out here who are going to die if we don't help them. They're not human, but they're still people. They have families, they have dreams, they have hope. And right now, we're their only chance." The response surprised everyone. Within 2 days, ships started arriving. First came the traders and independent captains who didn't care about Earth. Command's orders. Then came the colonial governments who thought Earth was being stupid. Finally, even some military ships showed up, with captains who said they were on training missions and just happened to be in the area. Helen Brooks, the governor of New Montana Colony, arrived with 3 cargo ships full of supplies. "My grandfather always said that you judge people by how they treat strangers in need," she told Jake. "Looks like humanity is being judged right now." Sam Davis, a merchant captain with a small fleet, brought engineers and mechanics. "I've been trading in space for 20 years, he said. "Never seen anything like this. But if we can save these people, we have to try." Dr. Kevin Murphy came from Mars University with a team of scientists. He was fascinated by the Kethfer. "Their biology is incredible," he told Amy. "They don't eat food like we do. They get energy from starlight, like plants. And they can live for thousands of years. How do they have children?" Amy asked. "That's the problem," Kevin said. "They need special minerals that only existed on their home planet. Without those minerals, they can't reproduce. Even if we save all of them, they'll eventually die out." This news worried Jake. Saving the Kethfor from immediate death was only the first step. They needed to find a way for them to have a future. But first, they had to finish the rescue. With all the help that had arrived, the work went much faster. Maria Santos, an engineer from the asteroid colonies, figured out how to connect human power cells to Kethfer life support systems. "It's not perfect," she said, "but it works. We can keep their people alive while we fix their main systems." Maya Phillips, a geologist from Europa, was studying the Kethfer ships themselves. "These aren't just ships," she told Jake. "They're like a whole city in space. Look at this. They have gardens, schools, even art galleries. These people had a whole civilization. As more Kethver woke up, they told more of their story. They had once been the protectors of their part of the galaxy. When younger races were in trouble, the Kethver helped them. They had saved dozens of species from disasters, wars, and extinctions. We helped others, Zethar explained to Jake. Now others help us. Circle is complete. Jake smiled. Not complete, just beginning. By the fourth day, they had saved over 1,000 Kethver. The alien ships were starting to come back to life. Lights came on in dark corridors. Air systems started working again. Children who had been sleeping for decades opened their diamond eyes and saw hope. But Earth Command's military fleet was getting closer. They'll be here tomorrow, Pete warned Jake. And they're bringing enough ships to stop us by force. Jake looked around at all the work they had done. Human and Kethver were working side by side, sharing knowledge and helping each other. It was beautiful. Let them come, he said. They can arrest me if they want, but they can't arrest everyone. That night, Jake received messages from all over human space. Colonies were declaring their support for the rescue mission. Trading companies were sending more supplies. Even some politicians on Earth were starting to ask why the government was trying to stop a humanitarian mission. Captain, Lisa said, showing him the communications logs, I'm reading over 200 ships heading our way. Not military ships, civilian ones. They're all coming to help. Jake felt tears in his eyes. This was humanity at its best. When good people needed help, humans didn't ask about politics or regulations or orders. They just helped. The next morning, Earth Command's fleet arrived to find the largest gathering of human ships in history. Over 300 vessels from dozens of colonies and companies, all working together to save the Kethver. Admiral Harrison, the fleet commander, contacted Jake directly. Captain Morrison, you are under arrest for disobeying direct orders and making unauthorized contact with alien life forms. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was working alongside Kethver technicians, sharing knowledge and laughing together, despite the language barriers. Admiral, Jake said calmly, I respectfully refuse to abandon these people. They're not a threat to humanity. They're just people who need our help. That's not your decision to make, Captain. Actually, it is, said a new voice on the channel. Governor Helen Brooks had joined the conversation. As an elected representative of New Montana Colony, I'm declaring this a humanitarian zone under colonial protection laws. I second that motion, said another governor. Third it, said a trading company CEO. Within minutes, dozens of leaders were speaking up for the Kethver. Earth Command found itself facing not just one disobedient captain, but a united front of human colonies, companies, and individuals. The rescue mission had become something bigger than anyone expected. It had become a statement about what humanity stood for. Jake looked out at the Kethver ships, now glowing with life and hope. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, 3,000 people were alive who had been dying yesterday. That was enough for now. Admiral Harrison's fleet stayed at a distance, watching but not interfering. Earth Command didn't know what to do when faced with hundreds of civilian ships all working together. They couldn't arrest everyone. Jake Morrison stood in the main hall of the largest Kethver ship. It was amazing to see it full of life again. Crystal children ran through the corridors, their laughter sounding like music. Adult Kethver worked alongside humans, teaching them about their ancient technology. Captain Jake? Zethara approached him. She had learned to speak basic English very quickly. My people want to thank you. We have gift. She led him to a room filled with glowing screens and strange instruments. Other Kethvar were there, working at computers that looked like they were made of light. These are our memory keepers, Zathara explained. We remember everything. Every star, every planet, every people we have met. Jake watched as the screens showed him maps of the galaxy. But these weren't like human maps. These showed which planets had life, which ones were safe, which ones had the resources that different species needed. We know of 12 worlds that would be perfect for human colonies, Zathara said. Worlds with clean water, good soil, safe weather. We give this knowledge to you. Dr. Kevin Murphy was excited when he saw the star charts. Jake, this is incredible. They have information about thousands of worlds. Some of these planets are closer to Earth than our current colonies. And look at this, Lisa Grant called from another screen. They have detailed information about every alien race they've ever met. We're not alone in the galaxy. There are dozens of intelligent species out there. Jake felt amazed. The Kethver weren't just refugees that humanity was saving. They were teachers who could help humans understand the galaxy better. But there was still a big problem. Zathara, Jake said carefully, Dr. Murphy tells me your people need special minerals to have children. What happens if we can't find those? Minerals? Zathara's diamond eyes grew sad. Then we are the last generation of Kethver. We will live long lives, but when we die, our people die with us. Maya Phillips had been listening. She was the geologist who had been studying the Kethvar. Ships. What exactly do you need? What minerals? Zathara took them to another room where she showed them samples of crystals. They were beautiful, with colors that seemed to shift and change in the light. Our home world had these in the deep caves, she explained. Without them, our children cannot grow properly. They need the energy that comes from these crystals. Maya studied the samples carefully. I've never seen anything like this, but maybe ... She started working with her portable scanner, testing the crystal's properties. Jake, she said after an hour of work, I'm getting some unusual readings. These minerals aren't completely unique. There are similar crystals in some star systems, but they're rare. How rare? Jake asked. Very rare. Maybe one system in 1,000 would have them. And they'd probably be in places that are hard to reach. Jake felt disappointed. How could they search 1,000 star systems? It would take lifetimes. But then, Maya smiled. Wait, I'm getting a match. She worked at her computer, comparing the crystal samples to her database of known mineral deposits. There's a system about 40 light years from here. Long-range scans show mineral signatures that match what we're looking for. That's great news, Jake said. Not exactly, Maya said, her smile fading. The system is in the Canary space. Everyone in the room went quiet. The Vecanari were humanity's most dangerous neighbors. They were a race of aggressive reptilian beings who attacked any ship that entered their territory. Humans and Vecanari had been enemies for 50 years. That's impossible, Pete Williams said. The Vecanari shoot first and ask questions later. They destroy any human ship that got within a light year of their borders. Jake looked around the room. All the humans looked worried, but the Kethver looked thoughtful. Captain Jake, Zathara said slowly, May I tell you something about the Vecanari? What about them? Long ago, before your species left its home world, we knew the Vecanari. They were not always as they are now. She led them to another memory screen. It showed images of reptilian beings, but they looked different from the aggressive warriors that humans knew. These Vecanari looked peaceful, working together to build cities and explore space. They were once like you, Zathara explained. Curious, helpful, wanting to learn. We helped them when their sun began to die. We helped them find new worlds. What happened to them? Lisa asked. We do not know. Something changed them. Made them angry, made them fight. When we tried to help them again, they drove us away. That was many centuries ago. Jake thought about this. Do you think they remember you? Maybe. The Kethfor believe that all intelligent beings carry memories of their past in their minds, even if they forget them. Perhaps deep inside, the Vekanari remember when we were friends. Dr. Kevin Murphy had been quiet, but now he spoke up. There might be a way to find out. Sithara, can you show me more about Vekanari biology from your records? They spent the next few hours going through ancient Kethfor files. Kevin compared what they showed with modern information about the Vekanari. This is interesting, he said finally. According to your records, the old Vekanari were calm and reasonable, but modern Vekanari are aggressive and territorial. What if something in their biology changed? What do you mean? Amy Carter asked. She had joined them to help with the medical analysis. Look at this. Kevin showed them brain scans from the Kethfor records. The old Vekanari had different brain chemistry. Something changed in their neural patterns. Amy studied the data. It's like they're missing something. Some chemical that helps them stay calm and think clearly. Could it be connected to the minerals? Maya asked. The same minerals that the Kethfor need? Kevin's eyes got wide. That's it? Maya, show me the mineral composition again. They worked together for hours, comparing mineral data with biological information. Finally, Kevin stood up with excitement. The Vekanari need those minerals too, he announced. Not for reproduction. Like the Kethfor, but for their brain chemistry. Without those minerals in their environment, they become aggressive and territorial. So that's why they're always fighting, Jake said. They're not evil. They're sick. Exactly. And the planet with the minerals could help both species. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. Maybe this wasn't impossible after all. Maybe they could help the Kethfor and the Vekanari at the same time. But first, they had to convince the Vekanari to listen to them instead of shooting at them. We need to try, he said. For the Kethfor, and maybe for the Vekanari too. It's suicide, Pete said. The moment we cross their border, they'll attack. Not if we go in peace, Zathara said. Not if we go to help them remember who they used to be. Jake looked around at his crew in the Kethfor. They had already done the impossible once by bringing hundreds of human ships together to save a dying alien race. Maybe they could do the impossible again. All right, he said. We're going to try diplomacy with the most aggressive species in the galaxy. Who's with me? To his surprise, dozens of hands went up. Humans and Kethfor together, ready to risk everything for peace. Sam Davis spoke for many of them. Captain, we've come this far. We're not going to stop now just because it's dangerous. Helen Brooks nodded. My colony voted to support this mission completely. That includes making peace with our enemies, if it means saving the Kethfor. Jake felt proud of humanity. When other species would have given up or looked for easier solutions, humans kept trying to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Then, we're going to do something that's never been done before, he said. We're going to Vekanari space, and we're going to make them remember friendship. Outside the windows, the mixed fleet of human and Kethfor ships prepared for the most dangerous mission any of them had ever attempted. They were going to fly into enemy territory with no weapons. Only hope and the belief that somewhere inside their enemies' hearts, they might find friends. The journey to Vekanari space took 3 days. Jake Morrison spent most of that time planning with his crew and the Kethfor. They couldn't just fly into enemy territory and hope for the best. They needed a real plan. We can't take the whole fleet, Pete Williams said. The Vekanari would see that as an invasion. Just a small group then, Jake decided. The Endeavor, 1 Kethfor ship, and maybe 2 escort vessels. Zithara had been working with the other Kethfor memory keepers. We have prepared something special, she told Jake. Old records of our friendship with the Vekanari. Pictures, sounds, even smell recordings. If they truly have genetic memory, these might help them remember. Dr. Kevin Murphy had been studying Decanari psychology. From what we know, they respect strength, but also respond to direct challenges. We can't appear weak, or they'll attack. Immediately. So how do we look strong without looking threatening? Amy Carter asked. By being confident, Jake said. We go in there like we belong, like we're not afraid of them. Maya Phillips had been studying the mineral-rich planet they needed to reach. The good news is that it's not a major Decanari world. It's in their territory, but it's mostly uninhabited. The bad news is that it's heavily patrolled. Why would they patrol an empty planet? Lisa Grant asked. Maybe it's not as empty as we think, Maya said. Or maybe they know about the minerals, and they're protecting them. The night before they entered Decanari space, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked through the corridors of the Endeavor, checking on his crew. Everyone was nervous, but they were determined. In the medical bay, he found Amy working late. Can't sleep either? He asked. I keep thinking about what Kevin said, she replied. If the Decanari are sick because they don't have these minerals, then every act of aggression, every attack, every war they've started might not be their fault. Jake nodded. It's a heavy thought. But if we're right, we might be able to help them. And if we're wrong, we'll all be dead in a few hours. Jake smiled grimly. Well, at least we'll die trying to do something good. The next morning, they crossed into Decanari space. Jake had sent a message ahead, requesting a meeting with the Decanari leadership. He didn't expect a friendly response. He got one anyway, just not the kind he hoped for. Human vessels, you have entered restricted space, came the sharp voice. Over the radio. You have 30 seconds to retreat, or you will be destroyed. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Endeavor, Jake replied calmly. We request permission to speak with your leaders about a matter of mutual benefit. Humans. Lee. Humans take. Humans die. 3 Decanari warships appeared on their screens, weapons powered up and ready to fire. Captain, Pete said quietly, they're not interested in talking. Wait, Zathara said. She had been listening to the Decanari transmission. I recognize something in their speech patterns. May I try? Jake nodded. Zathara stepped up to the communications console. Decanari warriors, she said in her musical voice. This is Zathara of the Kethver. We were friends once, long ago. We come in peace, seeking the old bonds. There was a long silence. Then the Decanari voice came back, but it sounded different. Confused. Kethver? The Crystal Singers? You are extinct. We saw your star die. We survived, Zathara said gently. As did you. We have much to discuss. Another long pause. Finally, the Decanari spoke again. Follow us. Do not deviate from course. Any aggressive action will result in immediate destruction. The Decanari ships led them to a military station orbiting a red planet. As they approached, Jake could see dozens of warships surrounding the station. Any one of them could destroy his small fleet. This is it, he told his crew. Whatever happens next, I'm proud of all of you. They were escorted to a docking bay inside the station. The gravity was heavy, and the air smelled like sulfur. Jake, Pete, Amy, and Zathara walked through metal corridors toward what they hoped would be a meeting room. The Decanari who met them was huge, even by their standards. He stood 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales, with eyes like yellow fire. His claws were longer than Jake's fingers. I am Supreme War Leader Graktesh, he said in a voice like grinding stone. You have 30 minutes to explain why. I should not kill you all. Jake felt fear, but he pushed it down. We come because we have information that could help your people. Information about your past, and about a cure for the anger that drives you to constant war. Grektesh's eyes narrowed. Humans know nothing of Thekanari anger. We are strong because we are angry. Anger makes us powerful. But does it make you happy? Zethara asked quietly. The question seemed to surprise Grektesh. Happiness is weakness, is it? Zethara activated a small device she had brought. The room filled with sounds and images from the ancient past. Thekanari working together, building beautiful cities, exploring the stars with wonder instead of aggression. These are your ancestors, Zethara said. Before the change, before the anger. They were strong, but they were also happy. Grektesh stared at the images. For a moment, his aggressive posture seemed to soften. These are familiar, but impossible. We have always been warriors. No, Zethara said gently. You became warriors when you lost something precious, something that kept your minds clear and your hearts calm. Dr. Kevin Murphy stepped forward. We believe we know what you lost, and we think we know where to find it. He explained about the minerals, about how their absence changed Thekanari brain chemistry, about how finding them again might restore the peaceful nature of their ancestors. Grektesh listened, but his expression grew angry again. You lie. You seek to weaken us with false promises. Then test us, Jake said boldly. Let us go to the mineral planet. If we're wrong, you can kill us all. If we're right, you might get your people's true heritage back. The mineral world is sacred, Grektesh growled. No outsiders may approach it. Sacred how? Amy asked. Grektesh paused. It is ... it calls to us. In our dreams, we see it. Green crystals that sing in the darkness. But when we go there, we find only empty caves. Jake and his team exchanged glances. The Thekanari had been drawn to the planet by genetic memory, but they didn't know how to harvest the minerals they needed. We can help you, Jake said. We have the technology to extract the minerals safely. And we have friends who know how to use them properly. Friends? Grektesh's eyes focused on Zethara. The crystal singers. Yes, Zethara said. We used these minerals once. We can teach you how to use them again. Grektesh stood silently for a long time. Jake could see him struggling with old memories and new possibilities. If this is a trick, he said finally, I will personally kill each of you slowly. It's not a trick, Jake said. It's a chance for all our peoples to have a better future. You speak of peoples, Grektesh said, but you are enemies. Humans and Thekanari have fought for 50 years. Maybe we fought because we didn't understand each other, Jake said. Maybe we can do better. Grektesh looked at the images that Zethara was still showing. Ancient Thekanari and Kethver working together, sharing knowledge, building things. That neither could create alone. I will allow this, he said slowly, but I will come with you. If you try to deceive us, you will die on that planet. Fair enough, Jake said not 2 hours later. Their small fleet was heading toward the mineral planet. Grektesh had brought 2 Thekanari ships with him, but he rode on the Endeavor so he could watch the humans closely. Your ship is small, he told Jake as they traveled. Thekanari ships are bigger, stronger. Probably, Jake agreed. But size isn't everything. Sometimes being small means you can go places that big ships can't. Humans are weak, Grektesh said, but he didn't sound as sure as before. We're not the strongest species in the galaxy, Jake admitted, but we don't give up easily. And we try to help people who need help. Why? Grektesh asked. What do you gain from helping the crystal singers? Jake thought about that. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. We gain friends. We gain knowledge. We gain the feeling that we did something right. Feelings, Grektesh said with disgust. Weakness. But Amy Carter had been watching him carefully. "You're feeling something right now," she said. "Looking at those old pictures of your people, what do you feel?" Great-Tesh was quiet for a moment. "Sadness," he said finally. "Loss, as if something precious was taken from us long ago." "That's not weakness," Amy said gently. "That's your heart remembering what your mind has forgotten." The mineral planet was beautiful. It had green forests, blue oceans, and mountains that sparkled with crystal formations. As their ships entered orbit, Maya Phillips started scanning for the special minerals. "I'm reading huge deposits," she said excitedly. "More than enough for both the Kethvar and the Thekanari. Captain, this planet could support millions of people." "It's empty," Great-Tesh said, looking at the surface scans. "My people have surveyed it many times. There is nothing here but rocks and trees." "You were looking in the wrong places," Maya said. "The minerals you need are deep underground, in cave systems that were formed millions of years ago. They landed near the largest crystal formation on the planet." The caves were indeed deep, stretching down into the planet's core. But Maya's equipment could map them and identify exactly where the precious minerals were located. "There," she said, pointing to her scanner, "about 2 miles down. The largest deposit I've ever seen." The work of extracting the mineral. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting the mineral planet. Below him, the world they had named Haven was transforming into something amazing. The first permanent settlements were being built in the valleys near the crystal caves. Human engineers worked with Kethvar architects and Thekanari builders to create cities that none of them could have imagined alone. Captain, Lisa Grant joined him at the window. "The latest reports are in from the surface. The colony is ahead of schedule on everything." Jake smiled. "How many people are down there now?" "About 50,000. 20,000 humans from various colonies, 15,000 Kethvar, and 15,000 Thekanari, and more arriving every day." It was incredible to think about. A year ago, the 3 species had been strangers or enemies. Now they were building a civilization together. "Any problems?" Jake asked. "The usual growing pains," Lisa said. "Language barriers, different work schedules, arguments about how to build things. But nothing serious. Dr. Murphy says the cultural exchange is happening faster than anyone expected." Jake nodded. Kevin Murphy had become the colony's chief cultural advisor, helping the 3 species understand each other better. It wasn't always easy, but they were making it work. "What about the mineral production?" "Better than we hoped. Maya's team has found 6 major deposit sites. We're producing enough crystals to support all 3 populations, with plenty left over for trade." The crystal trade had become important very quickly. Other species throughout the galaxy had heard about Haven and wanted to visit. Some came just to see 3 former enemies working together peacefully. Others came to trade for the unique minerals or the new technologies that the 3 species were developing together. Captain Morrison, a familiar voice, said behind him. He turned to see Great-Tesh approaching. The former Supreme War leader looked very different now. He still wore armor, but it was decorative rather than functional. His eyes were calm, and his movements were relaxed. "Great-Tesh," Jake smiled. "How's the new job?" "Difficult," Great-Tesh admitted. "Being a peace leader is harder than being a war leader. In war, you only have to destroy things. In peace, you have to build them." Great-Tesh had become the Thekanari ambassador to the colony. His transformation from aggressive warrior to thoughtful diplomat had convinced many of his people to try the crystal treatment. The Thekanari Empire was slowly changing from a military dictatorship to a peaceful federation. "Any word from your homeworld?" Jake asked. "The High Council has agreed to send a permanent delegation to Haven. They want to learn more about cooperation and trade." Many of our young people are excited about the possibilities. That's great news. Zithara joined them at the window. She had been working in the crystal gardens, and her skin was glowing with absorbed starlight. The first HFY children are about to be born, she announced happily. This was the best news of all. With access to the crystals they needed, the HFY could finally reproduce again. Their species would survive and grow. How many? Lisa asked. 7 families are expecting children in the next few months. It has been 300 years since new HFY were born. This is a sacred time for us. Jake felt proud. They had saved the HFY from extinction and given them a future. Have you decided what to name the children? He asked. The parents have chosen names that honor all 3 species, Zethara said. Human names, Vekanari names, and HFY names mixed together. These children will be the first generation to grow up, knowing that different peoples can be friends. Tony. Rodriguez appeared on the observation deck, looking excited. Captain, you need to see this. He led them to a communication center, where Dr. Amy Carter was talking to someone on a large screen. Jake recognized the person immediately. It was Admiral Harrison from Earth Command. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said when he saw Jake. I have orders from Earth. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Were they finally going to arrest him for disobeying orders? The Earth government has voted to officially recognize Haven as an independent world under joint human HFY governance, Admiral Harrison said. They're also authorizing a formal alliance between Earth and the colony. Jake was shocked. What changed their minds? The trade benefits, mostly, Admiral Harrison admitted. The new technologies that your 3 species are developing together are revolutionizing everything. HFY energy systems, Vekanari manufacturing techniques, human innovation. Combined, they're creating advances that each species could never achieve alone. Also, the Admiral continued, the Galactic Council has taken notice. They're impressed by what you've accomplished here. They want to study Haven as a model for peaceful cooperation between species. Pete Williams had been listening from nearby. So we're not in trouble anymore. On the contrary, Admiral Harrison said, Earth Command is offering Captain Morrison command of the new interspecies cooperation fleet. It would be based here at Haven with ships from all 3 species. Jake looked around at his friends and colleagues. That's a generous offer, Admiral. But I think I'll have to decline. Sir? Pete looked surprised. My job was never to command a fleet, Jake explained. My job was to help people who needed help. That job isn't finished. He was right. Every day, new refugees and travelers arrived at Haven. Some were fleeing wars. Others were looking for new opportunities. And still others were just curious about this place where different species lived together in peace. What about you, Pete? Jake asked his first officer. Would you like to command that fleet? Pete's eyes lit up. Really? You've earned it. And someone needs to spread the word about what we've learned here. 6 months later, Jake stood in the same spot on the observation deck, but now he was looking at a very different world. Haven had grown from a small mining colony to a major hub of interstellar activity. Ships from dozens of species filled the orbital traffic lanes. The planet's surface was covered with cities that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. In the crystal gardens, children of 3 different species played together, learning each other's languages and customs. Any regrets? Amy Carter asked him. She had chosen to stay on Haven as the colony's chief medical officer. None, Jake said. Well, maybe one. What's that? I wish we'd found them sooner. Think of all the time we wasted being afraid of each other instead of working together. Lisa. Grant joined them. She had been promoted to the colony's chief science advisor and was leading research into new applications for the cooperation between the 3 species. The latest reports from the exploration fleet are encouraging, she said. They've made Contact with 5 new species in the past month. 3 of them have requested permission to visit Haven. Any problems? The usual diplomatic challenges. But Pete's team is getting good at this. They've learned a lot from what we did here. Jake nodded. The interspecies cooperation fleet was spreading the Haven model throughout the galaxy. They weren't conquering worlds or building an empire. They were making friends and helping people solve problems together. Captain, Zethara's voice called from behind them. Come quickly. You must see this. They followed her to the nursery level of the station. Through the windows, they could see into a room where something wonderful was happening. The first Kethver children were taking their first steps. They were beautiful, with crystal skin that reflected light in rainbow patterns. But what made them special wasn't just their appearance. It was who was helping them learn to walk. Human children and young Vecanari were in the room with them, holding their hands, encouraging them, laughing together. The 3 species were growing up together, learning from each other, becoming something new. This is what the future looks like, Jake said quietly. No, Zethara corrected gently. This is what the present looks like when people choose to help each other instead of fighting. Jake watched the children play together, and he thought about the journey that had brought them all here. It had started with a simple decision to help strangers who needed help, even when it was dangerous, even when it was difficult. That decision had saved the Kethver from extinction, transformed the Vecanari from warriors to builders, and shown humanity that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military power. It was their willingness to care about others. What's next for you, Captain? Amy asked. Jake looked out at the stars beyond Haven. Somewhere out there were other species in trouble, other civilizations that needed help, other opportunities to prove that cooperation was stronger than conflict. There's a whole galaxy out there, he said, and I bet there are more people who need our help. As he spoke, an alarm chimed softly. Lisa checked her communication device. Captain, she said, we're receiving a distress signal from the outer rim, a species called the Valtai. Their star is going nova, and they need immediate evacuation assistance. Jake smiled. Well then, I guess we know what's next. He looked around at his friends, human, Kethvar, and Vecanari alike. They were already moving toward the docking bays, ready to launch another rescue mission. Some things never changed. When people needed help, humans and their friends answered the call. The story of Haven was just the beginning. Throughout the galaxy, new alliances were forming, new friendships were being made, and new hope was being born. And it all started because one hum